I'm Autumn Price, and I'm here to discuss some of the elements of the Scopes monkey trial and how they impacted the fundamentalist versus modernist movement in the United States of America. The Scopes trial refers to a court case in the state of Tennessee, formerly known as the state of Tennessee versus John Thomas Scopes. It was a legal case in 1925 in which substitute teacher John Scopes was accused of violating the Butler Act, which was an act in the state of Tennessee that made it unlawful to teach human evolution in public schools. Although the trial was staged by the ACLU, it was largely popular and it garnered a lot of widespread public attention. It contributed heavily to the fundamentalist versus modernist movement. Prosecutor William Jennings Bryan was a notable fundamentalist Christian. He was a devout believer in the Bible. He strongly advocated for the inerrancy of Scripture. Meanwhile, defense attorney Clarence Darrow was an atheist agnostic. He did not believe in God, so it was sort of seen as sort of a battle between Christianity versus atheism or agnosticism, really. The trial was seen as a test as to whether or not modern science should be taught in public schools, modern science being evolution. Although Scopes could not remember whether or not he had even taught evolution in his high school class, he agreed to publicly incriminate himself for the trial. Fundamentalists argued that the Bible took precedence over all human knowledge, while modernists believed that only human knowledge and reason could prevail and answer the questions that were unknown about the world. According to a 1925 edition of The Sun, the source was found through the Jerry Falwell Library's online database. Scopes was found guilty and was fined $100. Another article found through the Library of Congress and published in the New York Times in 1927 indicates that the conviction was later overturned. A subsequent article published later on in 1927 and found through the Jerry Falwell Library database indicates that fundamentalists struggled after this defeat, especially after the death of William Jennings Bryan, who died a few days after the trial. The article does claim, however, that evolution is now a dead issue and that schools in Tennessee have continued on as before the trial. So the trial really did serve as sort of an indictment of either science or a religion, which one would come to take precedence in the public education sphere. And John Scopes was really the guinea pig. He agreed to be the guinea pig for the ACLU in that case. And the fundamentalist cause was definitely weakened after the conviction was overturned, after the death of William Jennings Bryan, who passed away shortly after the trial. And it really just sort of set the stage for what many evangelicals and fundamentalists believe eventually allowed for prayer to be taken out of schools, and just sort of this move towards a secular, sort of removed from religion school system where Christianity was no longer the dominant force, and where sort of science and human reason prevailed, at least in the public school sphere.